Finney.
Here.
Mr. Mano.
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Here.
Mrs. Snyder.
Here.
Mrs. Teresi.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the approval of the minutes from our council meeting of February 22nd, 2021. I hope everyone has had time to read these minutes over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move, Finney.
Moved by Mrs. Finney, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Are there any suggested changes, amendments, or deletions to those minutes?
Madam Chairman.
Mrs. Tressi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just one minute little thing. Reports of committees and commissions in our minutes. It says the building committee is Mrs. Teresi, and all of the others say Chair Balestrea, Chair Finney, Chair. So if we could make them all consistent, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
note the changes. Thank you. Are there any other changes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 The minutes are approved as written. Next is the approval of the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting, February 22nd, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved by Mr. Balestrea,
Second?
second by Mrs. Tressi. Are there any suggested changes, deletions to any of those minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Nay. Those minutes are approved as written. Next, we will move to correspondence and announcements. Does any member of council have any correspondence or announcements? Seeing none. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to deviate from the agenda to move 2012-12 up into our meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Move, Finney.
Sabetta, second by Mrs. Finney. Roll call on the motion.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This motion has been moved. 2021-12, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution number 2021-12, a resolution commending Ann Weiland upon her retirement from the Building Department of the City of Mayfield Heights, Ohio. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
So moved.
Move, Finney.
Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Tressi. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea, second by Mrs. Tressi. Mayor? Has it first? Okay. Any discussion? So on behalf of the City Council, we would like to thank Ann for all of her years. The City Hall and the Building Department really miss you. Hope you're going to enjoy your retirement. Anybody else like to have any discussion or comments? Mr. Mano?
Ann has always done a great job. All the years she's been here, she's always been a go-to person when you needed information or anything else. I know she helped me out a lot of times, and it's greatly appreciated. And I sincerely hope you really enjoy your retirement. You earned it. God bless you.
Okay, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has been approved. Mayor?
Hi, Ann. How are you? Is resolution number 2021-12, introduced by myself and all members of council. A resolution commending Ann Weiland upon her retirement from the building department of the city of Mayfield Heights, Ohio. Whereas Ann was born and raised in Garfield Heights and graduated from Garfield Heights High School, and whereas Ann began her career in 1983 with the city of Garfield Heights, and whereas Ann continued her career with the city of Garfield Heights for 11 years and began working for the city of Mayfield Heights in 1995 and retired in 2020 after 25 years of service. Whereas Ann's experience and knowledge, coupled with her warm demeanor, made her invaluable to the building department. And whereas Ann served for many years as a secretary to the Architectural Board of Review, the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Planning Commission. And whereas the building department acknowledges Ann's significant contributions by way of her professional service to the department and the residents of the city of Mayfield Heights. And now therefore be it resolved by the council of the city of Mayfield Heights, county of Cuyahoga, state of Ohio, that the administration, the city council, and the residents of Mayfield Heights extend their congratulations to Ann Weiland on her retirement from the Mayfield Heights Building Department and wish to express their appreciation to Ann for her years of devoted service and extend our best wishes for good health and much happiness in the years to come. Signed by Clerk of Council Karen Fagan, Diane Snyder, President of Council, and myself, and passed March 8th, 2021. Congratulations, Ann.
We miss you, Ann.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you. Nice job.
All right. Next, we will move to reports of officers, starting with the mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. Thank you for watching tonight's meeting. If you're out there, I hope you are. Take advantage of our new technology. The Marsall underpass improvements are beginning on Wednesday. They were going to begin today, but they're going to start Wednesday. We're going to set up maintenance of traffic and mobilization of equipment, and the contractor anticipates work lasting about 3 weeks. Workers will remove the guardrail and barrier wall and shift the road to the south to allow room for an 8-foot wide walking trail. Marsall Road will be closed March 8th through April 7th. March 10th now, I guess it is going to be, during the construction for safety reasons. So detour signs will be posted, and after the work is completed, the road will open to one-lane traffic with flaggers or a traffic signal as the work is being done. With spring fast approaching, Dan Gerson will begin evaluating streets needing sidewalk repairs. Last year, repairs were made on 8 streets on the southwest side of the city, so we're going to begin on year 2 of our sidewalk program. And I'm pleased to announce we have deemed March as the Restaurant Appreciation Month. Supporting our local restaurants is important, and we believe this promotion will increase patronage to all our restaurants. Patrons who visit restaurants during March will keep all receipts over $10 purchases and mail or bring the receipts to City Hall to be entered in a drawing for a chance to win a basket full of gift cards from those local restaurants. All information is posted on the city's website, and I encourage everyone to participate. It's a great way to show our appreciation for our restaurants in the city. The Parks and Recreation Department completed the spring-summer brochure listing. All programs and activities are included in there, and the brochure can be found on the city's website. And the Cuyahoga County Board of Revision is accepting complaint forms to protest your property tax valuation for tax year 2020 through March 31st. at 4:30. So any complaints must be filed with the board by 4:30 that day or bear a postmark of March 31st, 2021. You can obtain complaint forms from bor.cuyahogacounty.us, or you can pick them up actually in person if you wanted to. But those are all available for anyone who wants to file a complaint. And it's important to remember that date, March 31st. And mortgage assistance is still available through Cuyahoga County. Homeowners who have been impacted by COVID-19 may be eligible for mortgage payment assistance. Cuyahoga County Council approved $2 million in County CARES Act funding received through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for this project. So you can call if you need assistance with your mortgage, 216-600-2814. And all that information, including the property tax revision complaints, is all on our website. So if it isn't, it will be shortly. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? Law Director, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no formal report this evening, but I would like to note that I understand there will be two motions that will be made tonight with regard to the design and construction of the pool and the community center project. They involve motions to authorize soliciting competitive proposals for the professional work. Mr. Ward is aware of the facts and can answer any questions at the time of the motions, I'm sure. And that's all.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Murphy? Director of Finance, Mrs. Fagan.
Thank you. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Fagan? Next on our agenda, we will move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, starting with the Building Committee, Mrs. Teresi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report from the Building Committee.
Thank you. Finance and Audit Committee, Mr. Balstraya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No report this evening.
Legislative Committee, Mrs. Finney.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Public Works and Service, Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. A week ago, this past Saturday, Mr. Balestria, Mr. Gerson, and our service director, Mr. Fatika, and myself took a tour of the city, and we assessed the roads. And we will be having a meeting towards the end of this month to discuss our road program and finalize it. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. DeJohn. Are there any questions? Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam President. The 2021 Spring Summer Activity Guide is online now at www.mayfieldheights.org on the recreation page. Check it out for some great programs for adults and kids. Due to the pandemic, the possible changes to our plans, the activity guide will not be mailed. Day camp registration is open for Mayfield Heights residents. We are taking a $100 deposit to hold your spot for our camp after proof of residency has been submitted to recreation@mayfieldheights.org. 80 spots will be sold for each 3-week session, and then a waiting list will be started. Non-residents can begin registering on April 5th. The Bunny Event, March 27th, $7 for kids and $5 for adults from 9 to 10 a.m. Space is limited. Call 440-442-2627 for details or how to register. CPR classes are back. The next Heart Saver AED class is coming up on March 10th. This is recommended for teachers, coaches, babysitters, etc. The fee is $20. Class time is 6 to 8:45 p.m. Call 440-442-2627 to register. We are pleased to announce that Mayfield Heights will be offering recreational baseball this summer for children ages 5 to 12 years old. The fee is $75 per player. We are also looking for parents interested in coaching and team sponsors. Play begins in late May. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mano. Are there any questions for Mr. Mano? Safety and Transportation Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report, but the Neighborhood Watch will be meeting here in council chambers on Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Seating is limited, social distancing and masks are required. You need a reservation to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabetta. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Sabetta. Oh, Mr. DeJohn, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, or President. I just want to thank Chief Elliott for his 2020 report. Haven't had a chance to read all of it, but as usual, it looks very extensive. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. All right, Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, the Board of Zoning Appeals will meet tomorrow here in council chambers. There are several items on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Sabetta? Planning Commission, Mr. Balestrea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Planning Commission did not meet last week, therefore I have no report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Balestrea. We will move to comments from the public. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, the state of Ohio has established guidelines for public gatherings. In an effort to keep residents and all members of public, council representatives, and other city employees safe during this time, the city of Mayfield Heights has closed the city council meetings to public attendance. Because public participation and transparency are important values of the city, residents are invited to view the meeting via live streaming and broadcast. Additionally, any questions or comments may be submitted to council office by noon, Monday, 8th, 2021, by emailing Karen Fagan. At this time, did you receive any correspondence?
I do have 2 letters that have been submitted.
Thank you.
The first letter is from Carmela Warby, and it reads, "As a homeowner on the Woodhawk Drive since 1998, I have had to make several calls to the police for many reasons. A few examples are for the concern of a neighbor, a man jumping over our fence and backyard from the condo, man using laptop multiple times in front of our home for hours, stolen yard signs, and my brother's car getting hit while parked in front of my home. These are just a few off the top of my head. We have had a neighborhood watch since I moved here, yet I find I, without even signing up, have done so just as a concerned person in the neighborhood. We don't need to invite more people to our already busy street with a bike path and an open fence. We have a whole community of condos that enjoy our long block and then get to retreat behind a gated property. We would have our street narrowed, yet have the same traffic, and now even more visitors to be mindful of while trying to stay safe. Signs just went up about locking our cars. Now we want bikers casing our homes possibly, or leaving litter behind as they pass through. Do we have to be worried about open garage doors now too, while we do our yards or enjoy our homes? Will we get to pick up more dog poop from those who don't clean up after their pets? Crime doesn't go down by inviting more people to the area. What real benefit is this project? We do need our street repaired, not narrowed. We have sidewalks, are on a dead-end street that is enough for the dog walkers and family bike riders. If that is not enough, we have a park around the corner and a Metro Park down the road. Avid bikers go down to Gates Mills all the time. They seem more than happy with that, even many times too happy, going past the red light, past Cedar Road, many times while cars stop. Why not fix some real problems? Bus in front of Walmart in left lane by Hillcrest, just parked and left there for long amounts of time with no driver. How about in front of Starbucks on Psalm Center Road, where people block traffic to get in and even drive on wrong part of the road? Community center needs a strong fix as well, so outdated. These things will help more than a bike path for the whole of the area. I strongly oppose the street narrowing. I hope you will treat this situation with the care it deserves. This is where we live, call home, and should feel safe to enjoy our neighborhood. And it's signed Carmela Warby, 6391 Woodhawk Drive. The second letter that I received is addressed to the mayor and to all of council. During the February 22nd, 2021 council meeting, a letter was read from Mr. Wayne Natale during the public comment section of the agenda. Mr. Natale pointed out in detail a number of concerns that residents of Woodhawk Drive have about the proposed Woodhawk connector proposal and the proposed plans to narrow Woodhawk Drive. Until recently, most residents were unaware of the proposed plan to create a multi-use trail down Woodhawk Drive, which calls for the narrowing of Woodhawk Drive from 30 feet to 24 feet to accommodate the trail. The city had a wonderful opportunity to include the details of this proposal in the recent City Focus brochure mailed to residents, but failed to do so. Mr. Natale recommended in his letter that the city survey residents of Woodhawk Drive that are directly and negatively impacted by this proposal. It has now been 2 weeks since that recommendation was made, and we have not seen any effort to do so. Therefore, we, the residents of Woodhawk, took it upon ourselves to prepare and circulate a petition to the 82 households on Woodhawk Drive. All 82 residents have been offered the petition and opportunity to sign it, casting their position for or against narrowing Woodhawk Drive. Electronic copies of the signed petitions are attached to this letter. Here's the results of the petition. 66 of the 82 households on Woodhawk Drive are against the narrowing of Woodhawk Drive to accommodate a multipurpose trail. This is 80% of the households. 5 households are in favor. This is 6% of the households. 11 households have not yet responded, and follow-up is continuing to obtain their position. 39 of the 40 households on the north side of Woodhawk Drive, whose front doors would be 30 feet from this trail, are against the proposal. This is 98% of the households. For a long time, our opinion, letters, and voices have been ignored. I hope it is very clear now to all of you that the overwhelming majority of the residents of Woodhawk Drive are not in favor of narrowing the street. What we would like to hear from all of you is a simple response. We have heard you and will not pursue this project. You cannot continue to ignore the voices of the residents speaking out against this. The residents of Woodhawk Drive are anxiously awaiting a response to remedy the situation, and it is signed by Joe Niemer, and the residents of Woodhawk Drive opposed to the proposal.
Thank you, Mrs. Fagan. We will now move to resolutions. Mr. Belestrea.
Can I please respond to what was just read? I have a little statement, maybe. I'd just like to say, as a member of the Public Works Commission, I just want the residents to know that no decisions with regards to Woodhawk Drive were made. There were a number of proposals, I think there were 4 or 5 of them, that were proposed from the city engineer for improvements to the street. The committee agreed with actually with the advice of the mayor as well, to postpone any type of decision, and to make sure we heard from all the residents before any decisions were made. I want to make the residents aware that, rest assured, we have heard you and we are listening. We will keep all the residents informed before any action is taken. I appreciate the petitions. I know I can speak for Mr. Jajan as well as the chair, and we will definitely take everything under advisement and consideration on the committee as well as this council before any action is taken. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belestrea. We do have Mr. Ward with us this evening that would like to speak.
I just wanted to make a comment. I have talked to a handful of people on Woodhawk and obviously have heard from a lot more through these meetings. And what I have told the people that I've talked to is that the city plans to meet with them face to face to talk this through. There's a couple things going on right now. Obviously, we're in a pandemic, so that's been challenging, and it's also been pretty cold out. So what we've told them is, in the spring, likely April, we'll try to get to a place where we can meet outside, possibly under the pavilion, or somewhere where we can be outside, and we can have a conversation and talk about disagreements and what is and what isn't part of this. So it's not that we're ignoring them, it's just we're waiting for warm weather and a chance to get out to communicate effectively face-to-face. Thank you.
Thank you. In most of the conversations that I've had with the residents, I told them the same thing, that we are planning something when the weather breaks. So, are there any other comments? We will move to resolutions. 2021-13. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021-13, a resolution commending John Shrewsbury upon his retirement from the Fire Department of the City of Mayfield Heights, Ohio. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved
Move,
by
Finney.
Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mrs. Finney. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Belstria,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Teresi, second by Mr. Mano. We'd like to congratulate John for all of his years of service in the fire department. Would anybody else like to make any comments? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Belstria,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mrs. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. 2021-13 has been approved. Resolution number 2021-14, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021-14, a resolution commending Steve Paros upon his retirement from the Fire Department of the City of Mayfield Heights, Ohio. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by
Finney.
Mr. Balestria, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Belstria,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mrs. Finney,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. DeJohn, second by Mrs. Tressi. We also would like to thank Steve for his years of hard work at the Fire Department. Congratulations, Steve. Please enjoy your retirement. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mrs. Finney,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mr. Belstria,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has been adopted. Resolution 2021-15, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2021-15, a resolution honoring Dr. Keith Kelly for his years of service and retirement as superintendent with the Mayfield City School District in Mayfield Heights, Ohio. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move, Finney.
Moved by Mrs. Finney, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Belstria,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. DeJohn, second by Mrs. Tressi. On behalf of the City Council, we would like to thank Dr. Kelly for all his service to the Mayfield City School District. Enjoy your retirement.
Madam Chair, if I could.
Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As with all these, unfortunately, we can't have them in council chambers with us, but it seems we still want to honor them. We can't maybe just do it the way we really want to do it with them in person and giving them our heartfelt thanks and a warm handshake to send them on their way. But it's a shame, but it is what it is. But we'll make sure that they get these resolutions and they know that we appreciate them. So.
Thank you. Mr. DeJohn.
Yes, Mayor, is there any way that they can be put up onto our website so the residents can read them from our website? All right, thank you.
Good idea. Mrs. Tressi, did you have something?
No.
Okay, all right. All right.
They're on the website.
Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Belstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2021-15 has been approved. Moving to ordinances, ordinance number 2021-13, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2021-13, an ordinance amending Section 953.02 of the codified ordinances of the city titled Admission and Class Fees to revise the method of setting such fees. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Move, Finney.
Mr. Mano, second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Belstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Finney, second by Mr. Mano. We all should have received an email from Mr. Ward explaining the reason for the change. This ordinance gives authority for the Parks and Recreation Director to determine the annual fees for the swimming pool. Mr. Ward, is there anything you would like to add? Does anybody have any comments or questions for Mr. Ward? Mr. DeJohn?
So once these fees are determined, they will come before council for approval, correct?
No.
No? Thank you.
Mr. Are there any further questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Belstria.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Ordinance number 2021-13 has been approved. Ordinance number 2021-14, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2021-14, an ordinance setting the fees for the Mayfield Heights Summer Day Camp Program for 2021. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Belstria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea, second by Mr. Mano. Mr. Ward included in his email, as well as this ordinance pertaining to summer day camp. This would allow the director to be able to set the day camp fees without having to come to council for approval annually. Are there any further questions or comments from council? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mr. Belstria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Ordinance number 2021-14 has been adopted. Moving to motions.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chairman? I make the motions?
Go right ahead. I was going to introduce it, but if you're ready to roll, let's do it.
Mr. Mano.
All right, you want one at a time or both together?
One at a time.
One at a time,
All right.
please.
First motion will be a motion to solicit proposals for an owner representative for the new pool complex.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Mano, second by Mr. Balestrea. This was discussed briefly at the Committee of the Whole meeting as being one of the next steps in the process to move forward with the City and Park Pool Project. Members of council, are there any questions or comments, or would you like Mr. Ward to explain anything further?
Sean, you have anything you want to say? Okay.
Okay, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Teresi.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mr. Belstria,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this motion has been approved.
Second motion is to solicit proposals for an architect of record for the pool complex.
I need a second for this motion.
Second.
Second, Finney.
So moved by Mr. Mano and second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Belstria,
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn,
Yes.
Mrs. Finney,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this motion has been approved. Next, we will move to new business and comments from council. Is there any new business or comments that anyone would like to add this evening?
Madam Chairman,
Mrs. Finney?
I just wanted to mention that there's a cemetery meeting on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, and I will report back the results afterwards.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mrs. Savetta, second by Mrs. Teresi. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.
Donna Finney.
Has left the conference.